All right, I'd like to introduce Roy Stevens. Roy is a lifelong model railroader, a former aerospace and medical device engineer. He has degrees in robotics and mechanical engineering and currently works designing gear for rope access, search and rescue, arborists, and Cirque du Soleil performers. Roy is the principal of Ride Trains out of Salt Lake City. Roy, I'm going to turn it over to you and I'll flip the slides as you tell me to.
All right. Well, thank you for that introduction. I trust everyone can hear me just fine.
You're good.
Excellent. Yeah. Uh, also, to glom on to the National Narrow Gauge Convention announcement, I will be there with 3 tables. So come by, say hi, buy some stuff because I'm driving for 2 days in each direction. Uh, I was at Pittsburgh and flew in, and that meant I couldn't bring very much product. So we're going to remedy that in St. Louis. If you'll flip to the next slide, and we'll start this introduction. Uh, you've already read my bio. Here's some pictures. My day job, I design outdoor gear. Basically, if you uh, recreate or work hanging on ropes, you probably use some of the products of my company. Uh, it's something I enjoy as well. So when I'm not building model trains, I'm out risking my life. So, uh, but we'll talk about model trains today. So if we want to go to the next slide, we'll talk about what I do for 3D printing and 3D designing. And uh, these two go hand in hand. You can't print anything without a design. And if you design something, there's plenty of places out there that print, but I'm one of the few that do it both. And that way, when I do a print and it doesn't work, I can go back to the design and adjust it if needed. As an engineer, I use SolidWorks. SolidWorks is like swatting a mosquito with a bazooka. It's incredibly expensive, but it's the tool that I've used for the past 2 decades. So it's something that I know very well. So on the screen here, we've got on the left an East Broadtop hopper. On the right, we've got the Vulcan truck that goes underneath it. George at Soundtracks almost lost his job by mass producing these, and I'm not selling very many of them either. So yeah, but we're hoping that with the revival of the East Broadtop, that might change. So moving on, we'll talk about the actual printing process. One too many.
Ah,
All right. So here's my print lab. This is actually sitting to the left of me right now. We have 4 Elegoo Jupiters, 1 Sonic Mega 8K, and a couple of Elegoo Saturns that don't really get much love. The Jupiters are really the workhorses. These things are built like tanks. They're kind of high-end consumer grade, what I call prosumer, so they work well for a basement industry like myself. Um, the When you go to look at these resin printers, these companies really love to advertise by how many K they have, but that is a complete misnomer and uh, a terrible way to describe a resin printer. Really, what you need to do is find out what the voxel size is. The Jupiters have a voxel size of 51 microns, and they have 256 levels of anti-aliasing. This means they are 64 times better resolution than the best that your Bamboo Labs FDM printer can do. So yeah, I don't mess around with using FDM printers for trying to make my model trains. So here's if you take a look at this picture here, this is the Rio Grande Southern business car B20, known as the Edna. This is NN3, but if you look, you can see the spindly handrails on the ends that got resolved. The trucks are printed, the underframe is printed. So this is the kind of resolution that you can pull out of these printers. This took I probably printed 12 to 15 different orientations and to get this to come out nicely like this. But once I've got that dialed in, I can just crank them out all day, every day. So yeah, it didn't take long to fill the entire NN3 market, which was about 10. All right, moving on.
Oh, come on.
All right, so here is the inside of one of my Elgu Jupiter printers. This kind of shows how these these resin printers work. If you look at the bottom, you've got that gray area. That is about a half-inch thick liquid bath of resin. And then up on the top, on the plate, you have these White Pass and Yukon anvil containers that I've finished on this, and they are hanging upside down. As you print, these kind of build up upside down like this. They start layer by layer from the plate, and as you pull it out of the bath, they just kind of build up and hang down like this. So yeah, care has to be taken to make sure that everything gets supported and everything stays straight and true during the print process. And this photo is the next step where I hang them up and let all the excess liquid resin drain off of the prints and back into the bath. Several reasons for this. One, resin isn't all that cheap, and it's also hazmat, so try and keep it out of the trash system as much as possible. Anything that gets pulled out, I've got to wash. It ends up contaminating the alcohol. It ends up getting on cleaning cloths and everything. So, try and minimize any waste for a lot of reasons here. And then after I pull the prints off, I wash them. What we've got here is the middle container is the pre-wash. So that gets most of the uncured resin off. And then once that's done, after 3 to 5 minutes, I move them to the right-hand wash, which I try and keep very clean for a final wash. That way I ship out product that is very clean, generally ready to accept paint and assembly, so my customers don't have to worry about cleaning these or anything like that. And then after the wash, these prints come out slightly porous, so they will soak in some of this alcohol. So I let them sit out generally for at least 3 hours, but typically I try and leave them out for an entire day to dry out. Because if you still have alcohol in them when you go to cure them, it can cause a situation called blooming, where the alcohol flashes off really fast, and it'll kind of blow out the details and create a fuzzy skin effect. So this is an important step if you're resin printing to not be impatient. Let your stuff dry out before you throw it in the UV cure station. Then this is my my big frozen cure station. It's got fans in the back because the curing actually creates heat, and if you don't mitigate that heat, it can cause your prints to warp during the curing process. So I'll often cure these in steps to make sure that the curing goes evenly. We don't overheat them during the cure process. And then finally, here's where I keep all the parts for my kits. I keep all the H0N3 stuff in stock. If you look across this, you can see uh, uh, pretty much everything the Rio Grande had in its available for passenger cars in 1945, as long as well as some CNS and White Pass stuff. Uh, for the other skills, I do custom orders. I do special runs, but it's not really conducive for me to try and keep that stuff in stock. There's just not enough demand to be able to justify taking up that much of my work area. So if you need something, hit me up. Requests are really what I do to plan what I'm doing next, or go out and recruit a whole bunch of people to your scale, and maybe I'll keep everything in stock all the time. And I guess the question session will be at the end. Is that correct?
Now, let me stop the share here and check the chat room. So let's see here from Robin Peel. I have learned many new words: voxel, bamboo, not a deer, and a new way of spelling frozen, NN3. Then from Steve Hollenbeck, do the 3D cars need to be primed before color paint?
Now that is an excellent question. If you're using Model Master Paint or Flowquill, which are oil-based paints, no, just put them right onto the resin. They work great. If you're using a water-based paint like Vallejo, I definitely recommend using a good primer first. I really am loving the Mr. Hobby primers. If you can get a hold of them out of Japan, that the uh, the grind on their pigment is as good or better than Flowquill. They go on so smooth and so thin.
Very good. Here's a comment from Jim Kern. He says, I have one of your HON3 CNS short combines sitting on my workbench right now, ready to start. Very, very nice kit. Highly recommended. I do, however, feel a bit guilty as I bought it secondhand from a guy a few miles away. Then here's another question. What type of resin do you use?
Now, that is an excellent question. Getting good quality resin and dialing it in is really incredibly important for success. I use several different resins in my kits. For the bodies, primarily I use Tech Fast Gray because it really holds the detail. The downside to it is that it is very brittle. So if you turn one of my kits into a floor model, it will shatter like glass. So I apologize, but I decided to prioritize detail. Uh, the underframes are made from a much tougher resin called Tech Blue, as I use those for the trucks as well. That's a more expensive resin. It doesn't hold detail as well, but it is much more robust.
Very good. Um, Again, Steve Hollenbeck says, thanks for your presentation. Robin Peel says, I will echo the value of Mr. Hobby primers, great products. And then Sid has a question. How long did it take to print the example of the HON3 coach?
That is an excellent question. The coaches, because of the orientation I print, generally take about 3.5 to 4 hours in H1 3.
Very good. All right. So for all of the SN3 guys who are going to be going to Salt Lake City in about 6 weeks, uh, Roy will be there since you are a resident of Salt Lake City. So let's get together and inundate Roy with requests. Your website is ridetrains.com. Am I correct?
No, it's .net. Somebody is squatting on my .com.
Okay, ridetrains.net.
You can
Uh,
also, if you it's easier to remember to go to hon3.store.
HON3.store, and you can see the various offerings. So let's encourage Roy to generate some product and prep for the symposium. And of course, you will be at in St. Louis at the NaraGauge convention. Roy, thank you so much for your time tonight. It is very much appreciated, very educational clinic.